You're listening to the Telltale channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. All links are in the description. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. So we've got an interesting one tonight. Trump was arrested. He was arrested. He showed up in Manhattan, where I am right now, and walked up to the courthouse and went in the front doors, which is super unusual. He wanted to make a spectacle of himself, obviously. So anyways, he's been arrested. I thought about going down there because it's like a short subway trip away, but then I heard gunfire for real. I heard gunshots outside, which is so incredibly... I've never heard gunshots before in Manhattan, maybe once, but even then it could have been a car backfiring, you know? I swear I heard gunshots. It just got crazy down here. It felt like it was crazy to me anyways. So, Flashpoint crew, which is Kenneth Copeland's TV show, it's run by Gene Bailey, the host here. They are talking about Trump's indictment. At the time this came out, Trump was indicted, and they got Kari Lake on to talk about how unjust this is. Oh, he's so mistreated. So anyways, I wanted to listen to what these nutterbutters had to say about it. Deeply entertaining stuff. So yeah, let's check it out. Let's just start from the beginning of this and see how extremist MAGA nutterbutters are reacting to the news. I mean, these people are like the Trumpiest of the Trumpiest supporters. It doesn't get more Trump supported than these guys. So let's see what they say. And while we listen to these people, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild. If you've never played it before, you're not familiar, don't worry about it too much. It shouldn't bother you. Just making sure everything's working. Okay, I think we're good. Awesome. All right, let's start listening, shall we? Oh, this is just fantastic news. I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that Trump was arrested. No one is above the law. No one should be above the law. There are people that are above the law right now. Trump being one of them. But this is showing people, others, that it doesn't matter how famous you are. Doesn't matter what position you find yourself in. You can be a president. And if you break the law, you'll pay for it. Of course, George W. Bush got away with war crimes, but I'm not here to talk about that one. Let's listen to these people. Just wanted to adjust my chair. Welcome, Cootmaster. Thanks for coming. Oop. Okay, here we go.
Good evening.
Ooh, a little bit too loud. Let me... Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to...
Okay, that should be good.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Flashpoint. I'm Gene Bailey. We're glad you're here. All right. So if you don't know, breaking news right now, New York Times reports grand jury in New York has voted to indict former President Donald Trump over his role in hush money payment to a porn star. All right. Let's dive into the news with Victory News correspondent Mike Garofalo. Mike, give us the latest.
Okay, I've never heard of this guy. I just watched like a minute or two of this, and this guy very definitely wants to make it out as though he's like a newscaster. I don't, maybe that's what he does for a living, who knows.
The timing of the news today about Donald Trump caught many off guard. Late this afternoon, for the first time ever, a grand jury in New York convened by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg indicted for a former president, Donald Trump, most likely for hush money payments.
We found out now that I guess the indictment was released. It's 34 Class E felonies. 34 felonies. So basically, from my understanding, again, this is like really early and we have very little information as the moment that this is releasing, so take everything I say here with a grain of salt. But it sounds like in Class C, I believe, is usually the lowest, but Class E is basically a misdemeanor bumped up to a felony for some reason, like covering up another crime. Apparently that's what happened. He was committing a misdemeanor in an effort to cover up another crime. Again, very little information. It's just kind of the little bit that I've come across so far. But yeah, 34 felonies, dude. 34 felonies with a maximum of 4 years each.
Payment in question reportedly.
He's not going to spend a day in jail, in my opinion. Not a day.
Donald Trump most likely for hush money payments. The payment in question reportedly includes $130,000 to adult film actress Stormy Daniels, a charge the former president has repeatedly denied. As a result of the sealed indictment, Donald Trump will likely...
Okay, so did you notice what he just said there? Pay close attention. This is how they propagandize.
Charge the former president has repeatedly denied.
It doesn't matter if he denied sleeping with her or not. No one is, like... no one is trying to arrest him for sleeping or for having an affair. Like, that's not the issue here. Nobody cares if he had an affair except for his wife, maybe. That's not the issue. He thinks this is the problem. It's not. Like, nobody cares about this at all. God, I need to pay attention to what I'm doing on Breath of the Wild. I'm not even watching. What we really care about is the fact that this dude... lied and took advantage of people and falsified business records and covered up crimes. That's what people care about. I couldn't possibly care who he sleeps with. Honestly, I really couldn't.
As a result of the sealed indictment, Donald Trump will likely become the first ever former president criminally prosecuted. A Manhattan grand jury has been hearing evidence in this case since January. The now 76-year-old 2024 presidential candidate called news of the indictment, quote, political persecution and...
Okay, and here's another part of the propaganda. You notice what they're doing here? They're reporting the news, kind of, right? They're just describing the situation as it is. But they're only describing one side of the situation. They're only describing, things from Trump's perspective. And they're repeating things that Trump said, which are newsworthy. They're newsworthy things. Absolutely. It's not unreasonable to repeat what Trump said. But the fact that they're just leaving it at that, that's the only thing they're saying, should show you something about their motives and how they intend to present the evidence or present the information.
Election interference at the...
All right, let me just step back because I keep, jumping in.
January. The now 76-year-old 2024 presidential candidate called news of the indictment, quote, political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. The 45th president of the United States went on to say radical left Democrats have been engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Great Again movement since June 16th of 2015, when Donald Trump came down the golden escalator at the Trump Tower and declared his candidacy.
Okay, here's the thing. What they're doing here is very obviously heavily biased, right? But it's being presented in a way that seems like it's not. So there's a difference between neutrality and objectivity, right? The neutral position on is the earth flat is, I don't know. It's right in the middle. Is the earth flat? Could be, couldn't be. That's not the correct position, though. Neutrality is the wrong position to take on the question of is the earth flat. Objectivity would be presenting the facts that the earth is a globular spheroid. Just because you take a side on something doesn't mean that you're not objective on something. This guy is feigning neutrality, but he's not even really being neutral. He's presenting a single side. What did Alvin Bragg say? What did the prosecutor say about it? He told us what Trump said, right? What about Alvin Bragg? Not a word about what that guy said. That would be neutrality. We're not even getting neutrality. Not that I would even want it. I want objectivity.
After hearing today's news, legal scholar Jonathan Turley said Donald Trump may be the first president to be indicted, but if this is the standard, he won't be the last.
This is their way of, fear-mongering, trying to scare people, make them believe that we're turning into a fascist dictatorship run by the left. Because in communist dictatorships, or dictatorships in general, honestly, I shouldn't even include the word communist. in dictatorships, authoritarian regimes in general, historically, they've used the justice system in that country against their political enemies. Just look at like Nelson Mandela. You know, Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for very obvious political reasons and wasn't let out for like a really, really long time. Like, I don't even remember how long. Years and years, right? Trump wants everybody to believe that, like, that's the situation that he finds himself in, and all of Trump's supporters.
The George Washington University professor says Alvin Bragg just gave Trump proof positive the system has been politicized. Speculation is Mr. Trump won't be arraigned in Manhattan until early next week. Now, it's important to remember the indictment is still sealed, so we don't
No, it's 34 felonies. It was unsealed.
know all the facts. Gene.
Mike, has Florida Governor Ron DeSantis commented on the Trump indictment yet?
You know, that guy is really good at pretending to be a newscaster, even though he's totally not. I'm really impressed. He even, like, he has all the mannerisms down and everything. So has Ron DeSantis commented is the question. And the answer is, yes, he has.
He has. He actually tweeted a few moments ago, or
These guys hate DeSantis. Oh, my God, they can't stand DeSantis.
a few minutes ago, saying this: the weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda
That's not what's happening.
turns the rule of law on its head. It's un-American. And the governor of Florida did add he will not assist in any extradition requests from the George Soros-backed DA. Gene.
Yeah, racist, anti-Semitic dog whistles all over the place in that, but I'm not even going to bother with all that. Obviously, DeSantis didn't need to cooperate in any extradition request, but he was saying, he's just saying that so that Donald Trump would feel like comforted, like he had somebody on his side or whatever. It wasn't even about Donald Trump. It was about his supporters. He's trying to kind of get his supporters in. You know, he's trying to, like, get his supporters to like him more because he's really not popular with the Trump crowd at the moment. This is that's a really hard thing to nail on Breath of the Wild.
Thanks, Mike. We'll stay tuned for any upcoming reports. Let me go now to Kari Lake. Kari.
Oh, boy. Kari Lake has got problems. What she's going to say, I'm sure, is absolutely unhinged.
Let's talk about, before we get into what's going on in your world, I want to get your take on what we just saw happen today with President Trump.
I think it's just, it's horrible what they're doing to this man. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Where
I didn't mean to pause that. You know what I find fascinating here? Kari Lake seems to want to pretend that, like, you know, Donald Trump is being persecuted for his, like, political beliefs or positions or whatever, right? But Kari Lake doesn't seem to fear this for herself. Why isn't Kari Lake being arrested? Why doesn't she fear being arrested if this really is political persecution? If this is really all about Donald Trump and, you know, calling out the deep state or whatever, why doesn't Kari Lake fear, you know, retribution from them, fear jail time from them? It's completely made up, entirely. And they know it's made up.
where somebody, the witch hunt is going after one man, and I believe the American people are tired of it. They're going after the one man who has stood up and put America first. Is that his only crime, is that he has put us first? And they can't stop him at the ballot box unless they cheat, and they can't stop him in the media because nobody's buying what they're pushing and what...
There was no cheating in 2020 or in 2016. It's just completely fabricated. Like, they don't seem to have any idea how any of this works. But the fact that Kari Lake, like, seems to, you know, not be afraid of being arrested herself kind of tells me that she knows exactly what she's doing, honestly. I believe that she knows. She knows exactly what's happening. And she doesn't believe any of the stuff she says, in my opinion. I don't know. That's just my... Let me know what you think. Is she an honest actor? Does she really believe all this garbage? Or does she know she's completely full of it?
they're selling. And the only way...
Step back a little.
stop him in the media because nobody's buying what they're pushing and what they're selling. And the only way to stop his campaign and his candidacy, they feel, is to persecute him and to bring him on these false, phony charges.
They're not like, she hasn't even heard the charges at this point. Like, we know what they are now. She didn't even know what they were. She hadn't even seen the evidence, and she's assuming they're false and phony. It's just a joke, man.
It is outrageous. The people of this country are tired of it. We have serious problems, Gene. We have people who are struggling right here at home.
Yeah, absolutely. She's trying to distract and draw attention away from Trump and say, like, there are better things to pay attention to. No, there aren't. It's important that criminals know that they are going to pay the price for committing crimes. This is one of the most important things that we could possibly focus on. And for another thing, there are 330 million people in this country, okay? There are plenty of things, or plenty of prosecutors out there that can focus on, they can chew gum and walk at the same time. We can do all of it at once. It's a big country. Donald Trump can face justice just like everybody else.
We have, a guy named Joe Biden who's rushing us toward World War III.
How's Joe Biden rushing us toward World War III? What? That makes no sense at all. What's she even talking about?
And in the city of New York, where you can't even walk the streets.
Okay, I live in New York City.
Without having to worry about your safety.
It's completely made up. I've literally never in my life felt unsafe here. Now, at this immediate moment, they have snipers on every building because Donald Trump wanted to do the whole perp walk, and they weren't going to give him one. They were willing to do this by video from Florida. And he said, nope, I'm coming in. I'm doing it. And they were like, okay, well, at least go in at night because it'll be a lot easier if you go in under the cover of night. And he's like, nope, going in broad daylight, bright and early in the morning, going to be there. Instead of just cooperating with everybody and not making a big deal of this, he's making a big deal of it. So at this immediate moment, there are, the city is kind of crazy, but I've literally never in my life ever felt unsafe in this city, really. I just walk around, do whatever. I've even considered going to Central Park at night. I think that'd be a beautiful walk, right? Walking around Central Park in the middle of the night. I think that'd be really metal. Anyway, yeah. She's just completely full of it. She's just blatantly bald-faced lying here. New York City is not dangerous.
Joe Biden, who's rushing us toward World War III. And in the city of New York, where you can't even walk the streets without having to worry about your safety, you have this prosecutor who doesn't care about crime in New York.
He cares about crime plenty. I don't feel unsafe under his watch.
He cares about going after President Donald J. Trump, and the people of this great country are sick and tired of it, including myself. And tired of it.
Yes, amen to that. All right.
They can't possibly be sick and tired of that because it's a fabricated issue. It doesn't exist. It only exists in her head. New York City is not a dangerous place to be. But she will do anything she can to convince their listeners, their weird little group of extremist nutcases, that everything's being burned down right now. They convinced people of this in during the George Floyd protests. And the whole Portland, Oregon thing, you remember? Portland's burning down right now. No, Portland, Oregon is still there. Everybody is fine. No burning down anything. I don't know what they're talking about. Minneapolis being burned down. No, Minneapolis is still there.
Let me show you this Trafalgar Group poll that came out Monday.
Trafalgar Group? I've never heard of this before.
On a possible Trump indictment. How do you believe the New York City District Attorney is indicting former President Donald Trump related to an alleged hush money payment to a porn star before the 2016?
Alleged. Yeah, he keeps putting emphasis on the word alleged.
Donald Trump related to an alleged hush money payment to a porn star before the 2016 election will affect the 2024 campaign. Helps campaign, 36.8%. Hurt, 25.7%, and no effect either way, 37.5%. Is that? Do you agree with that, Kari? Are we pretty much in? This is just political theater.
Okay, it's not political theater. He's being charged with 34 felonies right now, and this is something that the Manhattan DA didn't do himself. This was voted on by people. Bunch of people got in a room, anonymous people, of course. It would have to be because, hell, Don Jr. tweeted out a picture of the judge's daughter. That's the kind of thing we're dealing with. So, anyways, the grand jury, honestly, I kind of fear for their safety, but they're anonymous. It's a group of people who were presented with the facts of the case and voted on whether or not they think that this person should face criminal charges for what they've done. So this is democracy, baby. Donald Trump is being charged with 34 felonies because a grand jury voted on it, not because Alvin Bragg, chose to. This is part of the democratic process. And for the record, yeah, it probably will help him. But we must charge him with a crime to make sure that other criminals who commit crimes are aware that you will be charged if you commit a crime. Can't get away with this.
A little drama they're trying to do.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. It is theater. And unfortunately, they're weaponizing, the prosecutor's office and law enforcement in New York when they actually should be gearing all of those efforts toward real criminals who are actually making the streets less safe. But
okay, we can do all of it at the same time. That's not a problem. And also, the streets of New York are plenty safe. I've never felt unsafe in New York City in my entire life. I mean, right now, like I said, there are like snipers on every building, and there's just chaos because Secret Service came in, and Trump caused chaos intentionally. Now, there aren't even that many Trump supporters out here, honestly. There are almost none, apparently. But, it's still kind of a mess at the moment, so I'm just staying inside. I thought about going down there. Apparently, Casey Neistat is down there in Midtown. I'm not in Midtown, where the courthouse is. But I decided not to because it was a little bit late, and, I don't know. That would have been cool, though. Zada Hugla, can't stay long. Not that I come here often anyways. Darth Magog is going to have a live in 20 minutes. Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that. Hope you guys stick around for me, though. No idea who Darth Magog is. I wouldn't normally shout people out. But yeah, thanks. Anyways. Sean Kerner, in response to Trump being arrested, certain news groups are reporting sensational reports that the U.S. dollar is going to crash for this and that. What a coincidence, right? Interesting. Yeah. I haven't heard that. That doesn't surprise me, though. People love to fearmonger about this stuff. Every time there's something crazy happening, like Donald Trump, being indicted or whatever, things just go wild. The news goes wild. Everybody goes wild.
Unfortunately, they're targeting President Trump. I don't think it will affect anything with his base. His supporters are...
No, it definitely won't. Donald Trump could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue in New York City and not lose a single voter. Seriously.
Are tried and true. They're with him all the way. They've got his back. I think that small segment, and I'm not sure if those were just Republican voters that were in that poll, Gene, or if it was all voters, but that 25% that...
I don't trust a single poll that these people put out. By the way, I probably should have mentioned that. Don't believe anything these people say, ever. They make things up for a living.
Said it would hurt him were probably people who weren't with him to start with.
Yeah, the poll was actually from all voters, so we'll see what happens. I personally don't believe this is going to affect one way or another. I do believe this is going to help Donald Trump's campaign.
Yeah, I think you're right. Think about this.
Totally, yeah. I think it will help his campaign. I don't know how they're stretching this into the Democrats are trying to hurt him by doing this when everybody realizes this is only going to help Donald Trump.
Think about the crimes that we've seen on Hunter Biden's laptop, and nothing has happened with that.
What crimes? Specifically, what crimes? What do you believe this dude did? First of all, he's not even in government. Second, I'm not even convinced that that's his laptop. I think that's completely made up, honestly. I think it's like... Okay, this is my own personal conspiracy theory. The answer really is I don't know. That's actually the correct position. But in my opinion, I think that the laptop was probably like it contained a bunch of information. If it was anything, like if there's anything of Hunter's on there, then it was from hacked accounts. And I suspect that if there even really is a laptop, which there appears to be, I suspect that, you know, they hacked some of Hunter's accounts and then they put this information on this laptop, made it look like it was his, and then handed it to some blind computer repairman. He was blind, so he couldn't identify if it was actually Hunter that walked in and handed the laptop to him. Like, everything about the story screams Russian psychological operation, honestly. And it's simply absurd to me that anybody actually buys this. But anyway.
No.
Nothing has happened with that. We're living in a system where...
By the way, this is pure unadulterated whataboutism. They're saying, what about Hunter? What about him? We're not talking about Hunter right now. You want to talk about Hunter? Fine. I'm talking about Trump right now, not Hunter.
Nothing has happened with that.
No.
Nothing has happened with that. We're living in a system where conservatives are being targeted by our taxpayer-funded prosecutors' offices. And
if that was true, she would be less willing to talk about this stuff. If this is true, why isn't she being arrested? Why hasn't she been already? Why does she not fear arrest at all? Why doesn't she talk about the fact that she believes that the deep state is about to arrest her and all of this other stuff? She hasn't even suggested that maybe she'll be arrested at any point because it's all made up, and she knows it's all made up.
Police departments in these blue cities where Soros is really running the show.
Yeah, it certainly is. So let me ask you this.
Soros, by the way, is a dog whistle for, it's like an anti-Jewish dog whistle. George Soros is just a Jewish guy, just like a rich Jewish guy. He hasn't, like, he's not a puppet master that pulls strings and all this other garbage. They just live in a fever dream.
Do you believe, or is it surprising to you that there's absolutely no comments from the White House about the Trump indictment, or for any Democrat senator or representative that we've heard so far?
Why would they talk about it at all? What would they even say? It has nothing to do with them.
No, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, this is the state that we're living in. It's so sad that we're this divided as a country. I wish people on the left could wake up, put themselves in the shoes of President Trump. Imagine if they had given up so much in their life.
Put myself in Trump's shoes. I'm good. I wear a size 10.5, not a size 4 boys.
Life to help this country, and then only to have your government come after you and come after you and come after you.
Give your life for your country, she says.
Unfortunately, they can't kind of see through the brainwashing that 7 years of lies from the fake news has spread about President Trump, and they have been victims of that brainwashing, and they just can't see through the fog and the haze, and hopefully someday they'll wake up, because we're watching, let's face it, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. I mean, we're watching the economy collapse and crumble.
Dude, these people they just live in a constant state. I mean, the people listening to this, the people that watch this regularly, they live in a constant state of fear and paranoia brought on by the politicians that they treat like celebrities, and it is absolutely insane. Imagine living in a constant state of paranoia like this. This has got to be unpleasant, right? How do they deal with this? Like, they've got to take, like, just an absurd amount of anxiety medicine to deal with the constant paranoia that they get from Kari Lake and Gene Bailey and Kenneth Copeland and stuff, right? My God, dude.
We're watching people's retirement dry up. We're watching people lose their jobs by the tens of thousands right now. Again, we're marching.
Dude, are job numbers even down right now? Is that even a true statement that you just made? see. Okay, it looks like we did lose some jobs in February 2023. Let's see. It's kind of hard to tell. Okay, unemployment rate seasonally adjusted February 21 to 23. So actually it looks like the job all right, let me just show you guys what I'm looking at here. This is from bls.gov. It's a government website, so it's reasonably trusted. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It appears as though... Right, so if you look at this first graph here, this chart, unemployment rate seasonally adjusted February 2021 to 23. We were losing jobs like absolute mad in February 2021. The unemployment rate was at 6.5% almost. And at this moment, unemployment rate is 3.5%. And it looks like it got just the slightest little jump from 3.5 to like 3.7, which is, you know, that's not great, but it's not like the sky is falling like she seems to be making out right now. Like, what is going through her head right now? And why is she so obsessed with scaring the shit out of everybody listening? This is nuts, right?
Toward World War III overseas, and I don't know.
We're going toward World War III again. Like, why does she say that? What's she talking about? She just wants everyone to be scared out of their minds 24/7. Trump is holding a press conference right now. Is he really? Okay, we got to see this press conference. Hold on. Oh, shit. Okay, live feed.
And Dr. Tara Newsom, St. Petersburg College, of course.
Hold up. Oh, shit. Check this out.
The millions of votes.
Okay, hold up. Let me change the title of this real quick. Trump holds press conference after arrest. Okay. Let's listen to the press conference here. See what he says. Hold on. Where does it start? I think it starts about here. Ooh. Okay, here we go. Listen to this. People chanting USA. I think this is in Mar-a-Lago, isn't it? Maybe he's in New York City. I'm not even sure where he is right now.
Thank you very much, everybody. And we have to save our country. God bless you all. God bless you all. And I never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen.
What, criminals being charged with a crime?
The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. From the beginning, the Democrats spied on my campaign. Remember that?
No, they didn't. He's talking about something called Operation Crossfire Hurricane, I think, by the FBI. They were watching a bunch of the FBI was watching a bunch of Russian agents. They had some Russian agents' phones tapped, right? And weirdly, Donald Trump and his kids kept calling these fucking Russian agents and having conversations with them. It's like, what is happening? Why is like the president or the the candidate for president talking to these Russian agents? And then they launched an investigation into like what was going on, like why that was happening, and they closed the investigation eventually. That's what he's talking about. Like, you got to stop and pick every bit of this apart, or he will just propagandize all day, you know?
From the beginning, the Democrats spied on my campaign. Remember that? They attacked me with an onslaught of fraudulent investigations. Russia, Russia, Russia. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Impeachment hoax number 1. Impeachment hoax number 2. The illegal and unconstitutional raid on Mar-a-Lago, right here.
Such a victim, dude. He is obsessed with being a victim, and I have no idea what I'm doing in this room. I completely forgot how to beat this, like, this one thing here. There's, like, a terminal nearby I have to hit, I think.
They're lying to the FISA courts, the FBI and DOJ relentlessly pursuing Republicans, the unconstitutional changes to election laws by not getting approvals from state legislators.
That was weird. It was just like a random jump out of nowhere. I wonder what happened. Did we miss anything?
The millions of votes illegally stuffed into ballot boxes and all caught on government cameras.
No, that's completely made up entirely. If there was actual evidence of this, you know, this would be all over the place. They never come with evidence, ever. This is made up.
And just recently, the FBI and DOJ, in collusion with Twitter and Facebook, in order not to say anything bad about the Hunter Biden laptop from hell, which exposes the Biden family as criminals and which, according to the pollsters, would have made a 17-point difference.
Okay, I have no idea what he's talking about, 17-point difference or whatever, but this is classic whataboutism. This has nothing to do with Hunter. We're talking about you right now.
In the election result, and we needed a lot less than that, like about 16.9. It would have been in our favor, not my favor, our favor, because our country is going to hell.
Dude, this guy is something else.
And we remember the 51 intelligence agents who said Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation.
Yeah, absolutely. It most definitely was. Oh, I'm seeing the terminal now. I could not find this thing for the life of me.
It didn't exist. It was Russian disinformation.
I'm not even convinced that the laptop is real fully. Maybe.
Remember that? And that was all confirmed strongly by the FBI when they all knew that it wasn't Russian disinformation.
I don't think anyone's convinced of that, even now.
And so much more. Our elections were like those of a third world country. And now this massive election interference at a scale never seen before in our country, beginning with the radical left, George Soros-backed prosecutor Alvin.
See, this is so sad. This whole George Soros thing is a line straight from the KKK. This is the exact type of thing the KKK used to say back in the 1980s. And they're repeating it now. The Republican Party of today is the KKK of yesterday. Really. It is so sad to see a major political party in the United States basically be completely taken over by the KKK at this point. Really sad.
Bragg of New York, who campaigned on the fact that he would get President Trump. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. This is a guy campaigning. You want to get...
Oh, you're talking a little bit like where you said, lock her up? How you wanted to lock up your political opponent? And that's what you campaigned on? Something like that? Now, if somebody committed a crime, I want them in jail. Simple as that. I don't care who it was. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Alvin Bragg, whatever. But that's what Trump is complaining about right now. He claims this whole thing is political. It's a political thing. But when he was going after Hillary, it wasn't a political thing, right? He's perpetually the victim, and everybody around him is always guilty. They're the victimizers.
President Trump at any cost, and this before he knew anything about me, didn't know a thing about me. He was campaigning. As it turns out, virtually everybody that is...
Well, I mean, that's not strictly true. At the time, Donald Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen, had been sent to jail for his role in this exact case that Trump is being, like, charged with right now. Michael Cohen spent, 6 months in jail or something over this? How long was it? I forget now.
Looked
Maybe it's like a year or more.
at this case, including rhinos and even hardcore Democrats, say there is no crime and that it should never have been brought. Never have been brought. Ever brought. Even people that aren't big fans have said it. They said this is not the right thing to do.
Who? Who said that? Who are not big fans of you and said this isn't the right thing to do? Which people specifically? This is called weasel words. When he's referring to some ambiguous person, some authority out there who he doesn't feel like naming. You know, he could tell you who it is. He doesn't want to right now is all. They go to a different school or a different country or something. That's all. They're in a different department in the government. I just don't want to tell you who it is right now. Weasel words. When you hear people say they in some weird, ambiguous, confusing way like this, be wary of it. Don't trust it.
It's an insult to our country as the world is already laughing at us.
Your mom's an insult to this country. Speaking of which, have you ever seen Donald Trump's mom? Brace yourself for this one. Brace yourself. It's weird, dude. Hold on. Let me find a really good one. Oh my God, dude. Why are they so similar looking? They are like a spitting image of each other. Seriously. Like, how did this happen? I've never seen two people have similar faces without being twins. It's just weird, dude. Anyway, I don't know. It's just odd. Okay.
For so many other reasons, like our open borders, our incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Is she orange too? Yes, she is, as a matter of fact. Now he's just complaining about all of the, everybody failed. I could have fixed it, even though I was in charge for, a lot of this stuff, and I didn't fix it. I could have, if you just given me another chance.
Where we left behind American citizens, $85 billion worth of the best military equipment in the world. Lost.
Okay, this is all propaganda. That's not what happened, but okay.
13 magnificent young lives, and far too many to mention that are so badly hurt with the loss of arms or legs and facial.
And facial, you say? Arms, legs, and facial. Okay. Well, why didn't he pull them out? He had the option. How many people got injured or died on his watch in Afghanistan? He could have pulled out. He wrote up the exact plan that Biden used to withdraw from Afghanistan. So he has no place to complain about it, first of all. And second, why didn't he do it? The world will never know.
Obliteration. The most embarrassing time in our country's history, in my opinion. Then our give up on energy independence and even energy dominance.
Dude, he's just using this as an opportunity to, propagandize more. He does this constantly. This drives me nuts.
We're going to be dominant within 6 months, more than any other nation ×2. We had this all just 3 years ago. Our raging crime statistics, if you look in Democrat-run cities, numbers the likes of which we have never seen before.
Simply untrue. It's completely false. New York City is the safest place I've ever lived in my entire life. Ever. I've never felt unsafe in this city before. And for what it's worth, per capita, Oklahoma City, or Oklahoma as a state, is a more dangerous place to be than New York City is. Really. New York City is an incredibly safe place to be. Democratic cities are incredibly safe places by and large. By raw number, the murders, the number of murders that take place are higher by raw number because there are more people. But, if you are dividing the number of people by the number of murders and comparing it, there are more murders in Republican areas than in Democratic areas. But, you know, facts don't matter to these people. They're just going to keep propagandizing as long as they can. And, again, he's using this as an opportunity to grab media attention and spread it around.
The open threats by various countries of the use of nuclear weapons, something never mentioned or discussed by outside nations during the Trump administration.
What? Are you kidding me? He thinks that nobody ever threatened to use nukes while he was president? Really? That's a joke, dude. He can just say whatever he wants and people will believe him. He doesn't even have to, like, try, does he? How many times did North Korea threaten to nuke us? Didn't they finally reach a point where they had a nuclear missile that was capable of reaching the U.S. mainland under Trump's administration? People just believe anything he says. He knows that. He can literally say anything, and it doesn't matter how contradictory to reality it is. He'll say it, and they'll believe it, and he knows it. Much love from NC. Thanks for all you do. I appreciate that, Rowan. Thank you so much. Trump's holding a press conference. Thank you for letting me know, by the way. Real Pumpkin J, I'm sitting in an airport going home to Germany for my mom's funeral. I'm so sorry to hear that. And I'm way early. Thanks for the entertainment. I'll miss this for 2 weeks. I'm so sorry to hear that you're dealing with that. I knew you were having a hard time with your mom and everything. I hope, I hope things go okay. It's a rough situation. Really, really rough situation, I know. Good luck. Weird Worm Saloon. Thank you so much for the super chat.
In which could very well lead under the Biden administration's leadership to an all-out nuclear World War III can happen. We're not very far away from it, believe it or not. An economy that has been crippled by the biggest inflation we have seen in more than 60 years, and a military that I use to defeat.
Okay, inflation is actually getting better, so I'm not even super sure what he's referring to here. It's getting a lot better right now.
From it, believe it or not. An economy that has been crippled by the biggest inflation we have seen in more than 60 years, and a military that I use to defeat ISIS in 4 weeks.
Okay, does Trump think that ISIS no longer exists? Really? Does he realize that there was an ISIS attack, like while Joe Biden was president? He has no idea, does he? Nor does he care, I'd be willing to bet. He did take out Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, which was the leader of ISIS at the time. But guess what happens when a power vacuum forms? Somebody steps into the role every single time. Why isn't this thing turning? That's just how it works, man. You didn't take out ISIS.
He said it would take 4 years, 4 weeks, to kill al-Baghdadi and Soleimani.
Okay, that Soleimani thing, Soleimani was not a part of ISIS. As a matter of fact, he was helping fight ISIS. I don't have any clue why Donald Trump thought it was a good idea to assassinate an Iranian general, but okay.
That has now gone woke at the top levels by trying to indoctrinate everyone down to the lowest ranking patriot.
Dude absolutely must propagandize about being woke, right?
But now they have really stepped up their efforts by indicting the 45th president of the United States, who received 75 million votes, which is more than any sitting president in the history of our country.
Yeah, but it was, I don't know, 5-10 million less than your opponent at the time. He loves to twist it around and make this seem like it's illogical for somebody else to have won when he got more votes than any sitting president. Yeah, sitting president, that's right. But Joe Biden still had more votes than you. This is the nature of propaganda right here.
And in the wings, they've got a local racist Democrat district attorney in Atlanta who is doing everything in her power to indict me over an absolutely perfect phone call.
Absolutely perfect phone call. God. He's such... God, I don't understand where his head's at, why he says things the way that he does. What does he mean, absolutely perfect phone call? What does that even mean?
Even more perfect than the one I made with the president of Ukraine. Remember, I kept saying that's a perfect call.
Yeah, where you tried to extort him for, like... God, what was it? It was like blackmail or something, or dirt on your political opponent. Yeah, I remember that.
This one was more perfect. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't say that. Many people on the phone were hung up in disgust because of something I inappropriately said, because nothing was said wrong. In fact, at the end of the call, we agreed to continue our conversation about election fraud, specifically in Georgia, at a later time. Many people on the phone, including lots of lawyers, nobody found anything wrong with that perfect call until a book promotion tour many months later. All of a sudden they say, I remember.
When it was uncovered, when people were informed of what you did, yeah, that makes sense.
Remember Trump making a call. Let's look at that. This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election, and it should be dropped immediately.
God, he is so desperate for attention. He desperately wants this media tour. This is the reason why he didn't, process the criminal charge or do the arrest stuff or whatever on a video call. He had that choice. He could have. This is why he didn't go in at night when it was safer. Because he wants attention. Plain and simple. He wants to be in the news, in the media, no matter what.
Then you have a radical left lunatic known as a bomb thrower who is harassing hundreds of my people day after day over the boxes hoax. You know the boxes hoax?
What is he talking about?
As we call it. Just so everyone knows, I come under what's known as the Presidential Records Act, which was...
Oh, okay, documents, the documents. Got it. Yeah, that's not a hoax, and it wasn't about boxes. He most definitely took materials out of the White House that he was not supposed to have, and he refused to return them afterward, which, by the way, is very different from how it went with Joe Biden. Joe Biden found a couple of classified documents in his possession from when he was vice president and returned them as soon as he found out. Donald Trump fought every step of the way. He did everything he could to avoid giving the documents back. Why? Because he thinks he's above the law.
It was designed and approved by Congress long ago just for this reason. Under the Act, I'm supposed to negotiate with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, which as of this date is a radical left troublemaking organization that red flags...
Okay, the National Archives, the thing that manages classified documents and stuff, is a radical left organization, really? Okay.
The Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights as dangerous and triggering. Can you imagine?
Dude, what is he even talking about? This is like a fever dream.
This is what we have to deal with. But there is no criminality under the Presidential Records Act. That is not what it's all about. We were negotiating in very good faith, proper way, in order to return some or all of the documents that I openly and in very plain sight brought with me to Mar-a-Lago from our beautiful White House, just as virtually every other president has done in the past. When FBI and DOJ officials with NARA were here, I told my lawyer to show them the very secure storage room in which they were locked.
It doesn't matter. This stuff doesn't belong in a storage room. It belongs in a secure bunker called a skiff. A bunker that you have to have security clearance to, like, even know about, basically. Like, that's how secure this stuff was. I don't care how good of a master lock you had on the thing. Master locks and all other regular locks like that are super easy to pick. Just look at the lock-picking lawyer on YouTube. I don't care how secure you think it was. It was not.
The FBI's sole request in writing was, could you please put another lock on the door? We immediately complied. It's a lot different than the Biden situation, isn't it?
What, where Biden found something and then turned it over immediately and you refused to give it up? That's not how it played out, by the way Donald Trump is portraying, but he has to propagandize.
The next thing I know, we were raided by many gun-toting FBI agents who took whatever they wanted, including my passports and medical records.
Well, next time, try not stealing from the U.S. government classified documents, and you won't have to worry about it, right?
Everybody was in...
You know what? I have never worried about the U.S. government raiding my house for classified documents. You know why? Because I've never taken classified documents out of a secure facility. Never crossed my mind. Never even been in a secure facility. So I don't have to worry about that stuff. If you don't do this stuff, you don't have to worry about it.
Shock. Nobody had ever heard of such a raid before.
If Trump declared himself to be Christ at a rally, a frightening amount of people would drop to their knees before. Oh, 100%. No doubt about it. Absolutely. Yeah. They most definitely would. It's crazy, man.
Can't even believe it. Who would think that that could happen today? I immediately thought of the Fourth Amendment that protects against unreasonable search and seizure.
Yeah, but they knew that you had it. They got a warrant for it, and they went in for that specific thing. That is not, unreasonable search and seizure. They knew exactly where it was and what they were going there for. Unreasonable protection from unreasonable search and seizure does not mean protection from ever being searched under any circumstances. Dude doesn't seem to even know what the Constitution is talking about.
But they did it anyway because our justice system has become lawless. They're using it now, in addition to everything else, to win elections. Apparently, they're not looking at me through the view of the Non-Criminal Presidential Records Act. They came up with a new one. This is a new one. And they're looking at me through the Espionage Act. Think of that. How does that sound? Of 1917, where the penalty is death.
Okay, that is... Some penalties can be like the death sentence, depending on how serious it is. But he's trying to use this to make people believe that they're trying to kill him, and that's just fabricated garbage. His persecution complex is top tier. I don't think I've ever seen somebody so convinced that they're like being targeted by somebody when they're simply not. Aside from maybe Greg Locke. I think Greg Locke might be a little worse than Trump. And that's saying something.
Even though that has absolutely nothing to do with openly taking boxes of documents and mostly clothing and other things to my home.
No, it does. He violated the Espionage Act as it's written. Absolutely.
Which President Obama has done, the Bushes have done, Jimmy Carter's done, Ronald Reagan has done.
No, completely made up, of course.
Everybody's done. In fact, Hillary Clinton got rid of 33,000 emails.
This is the clearest example of whataboutism that I've heard in a while. Seriously. What about Hillary? I don't care. Why are we talking about Hillary? This is like a 10-year-old battle now. Like, do people even remember what that was about? It was so long ago.
That was okay. But nobody's done it like Joe Biden. This lunatic special prosecutor named Jack Smith, I wonder what it was prior to a change, who others of his ilk say...
Was that an anti-trans joke? I think it was. I wonder what it was before it changed.
This lunatic special prosecutor named Jack Smith, I wonder what it was prior to a change. Who others of his ilk say...
Why is he like this? How did this happen? I want to know how this happens in somebody, how this personality forms, and how he's not just, how this personality is not stomped out of somebody when they're like a teenager. Like, how did he ever have friends? How did anyone ever put up with this type of garbage from him? Ever. This is insufferable.
Who others of his ilk say he's even worse than they are, is only looking at Trump, yet Joe Biden took massive amounts more documents, even removed many boxes to Chinatown.
Oh, yeah, I guess he is in Mar-a-Lago. I thought he was in, like, Manhattan. No, I guess he flew back to Mar-a-Lago today. Okay.
Even removed many boxes to Chinatown.
I have no idea what that means.
You believe that? He's got $10 million from China. Where did that come from, I guess?
What is he talking about right now? Like, this is just a fever dream.
They were banking on Hunter's expertise and had others stored in unsecured offices in Pennsylvania and strewn all over his garage floor where his now very famous Corvette is also stored.
Now very famous Corvette. Is his Corvette famous? What? What the hell is he talking about? God, this is so confusing. He had friends because his dad was rich. That's interesting. It's an interesting point, but some I've come to find, it doesn't matter. Like, when you get to a certain point of wealth, it doesn't matter how rich you are. Everybody around you is also pretty rich. There's, like, rich culture. Like, they don't hang out with other people. And what's more, here's where it gets interesting. Old money doesn't like hanging around new money. They think that they're like, they have no class and stuff. There's this weird, like, divide between old money and new money. It's just a weird cultural thing. Rots your brain, I'm telling you. Money, having large amounts of money, it rots your brain. But anyway, when you get to a certain point, no one cares how rich you are or how famous. Maybe, you know, they're a fan of your work or whatever. But at a certain point, you know, it's just assumed that, like, Donald Trump would run in the same circles as, I don't know, Kim Kardashian or whatever. Like, of course, they all know each other. Their kids grew up together. They went to the same schools. They're not special to them because they're the most special. You know, Donald Trump is the most special. Kim Kardashian isn't the most special. He is. So there's no, like, kind of sense of, like, I don't know. I'm trying to find words here. There's no sense of, like, wow, check this person out. This is really cool. I'm so glad I get to meet them or whatever. Not really. Or, wow, look at how rich this person is. That's not really how it works, I've come to find, living in New York City. So anyway, my question is, it all boils down to personality in the end. How the hell did this guy, like, have a personality that wasn't stomped out of him by the people around him by age 20? I just don't know.
All over the floor, including classified documents. But that's okay. Perhaps most importantly, he has 1,850 boxes in Delaware, which he is refusing to give up.
Dude, I have no clue what he's talking about. Like, all of this completely made up.
But isn't that real obstruction? That's obstruction.
Well, that would be obstruction if that's actually what was happening. But Donald Trump is so obsessed with making it out like he's not the only one breaking the law that he forgets that, you know, he's supposed to be defending himself, not attacking other people. I don't care what Joe Biden did, honestly. I'm talking about Donald Trump right now, not Joe Biden.
As president, I have the right to declassify documents, and the process is automatic.
When you were president.
President, I have the right to declassify documents, and the process is automatic if I take them with me. It's automatic, declassified.
That's not how it works. It's not how it's ever worked. Like, the guy is just repeating the same garbage propaganda he repeats constantly.
Biden was vice president. He had absolutely no right to declassify as vice president. He doesn't come under the non-criminal Presidential Records Act. He comes under the very criminal Federal Records Act, unfortunately for him, but it's not going to matter because they don't follow the law, which has very severe penalties. He had classified documents that he took while he was a senator, which is absolutely inexcusable. And other senators, including Democrats, are outraged. But he's not being harassed and hounded like the people who work for me are. In fact, they seem to have forgotten about his documents entirely. So many, thousands and thousands. It's okay with him. They like to say that I'm obstructing, which I'm not, because I was working with NARA very nicely until the raid on my home. But Biden is obstructing by making it impossible to get the 1,850 boxes or explain why many documents were located in Chinatown. Can't explain it. Why?
Dude, what is he even talking about? Located in China? What?
Why were they in Chinatown? I don't know.
Wait, is he saying China or Chinatown? Because Chinatown is an area in New York City. So I don't even know what he's talking about. This is just nonsense.
Lastly, I'm under investigation. This time a civil investigation by another racist in reverse, who also
There's no reverse racism, okay? There's just racism. If somebody was racist against you, that's unacceptable. But don't call it reverse racism. I can't stand that term.
campaigned on, I will get Trump. I will get him. This was her campaign. Never ran for office. I will get him. Her name is Letitia James.
All right, that's the civil case against him. By the way, this is stochastic terrorism, what he's doing right now. He's targeting people specifically, naming them, and setting them up to be attacked by his supporters. Alvin Bragg, not too long ago, I don't know, a few days ago or something, got a letter with a strange substance in it, a white powder that said, I'm going to kill you, or some crazy thing like that. That's stochastic terrorism at work. Donald Trump only needs to talk about somebody. And just like that, instantly, they have tons and tons of supporters going absolutely nuts, looking for them, sending death threats to them, all kinds of stuff. It's not good.
And she proclaimed while campaigning, quote, I look forward to going into the office of the Attorney General every single day, suing him, and then going home.
Okay, I don't know anything about that.
Before she knew me. She announced, what is fueling my soul right now is Trump. And that she had her eyes on Trump Tower. Those eyes are focused on Trump Tower. Didn't know the young lady. She even assured her supporters in an election promise that we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally. And then she claimed that I was an illegitimate president. Think of it. With all we did.
Okay, I don't know what this has to do with anything at all, but okay.
With all we did on energy, with all we did on the military, on taxes, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history, right to try, people able to get drugs now that...
Right to try. I forget what that was. What the hell was that? That was, God, that was something to do with, like, medicine, right?
Aren't approved. Hopefully.
And also, a lot of these bills that he's talking about, the tax bill, the regulation stuff, this is largely written by, like think tank, right-wing think tanks. Like, for example, the Heritage Foundation or the, Family Research Council Liberty Council. I mean, there are a billion of them out there that write legislation for, Republican politicians. Just hand them the bill and say, here, sign this. This is what we want. And if you sign it, then we will vote for you, and we'll tell our members and stuff to vote for you too. That's basically it. So Trump didn't do any of this stuff, really. He just convinced, he just signed papers. He signed papers and is now taking credit for signing those papers, apparently.
We don't have that problem. Letitia James vowed to use every area of the law to, quote, investigate President Trump and his business transactions. Those transactions are going to be investigated, she said. And that of her family.
Well, I mean, he's proven himself to, do things unethically and lie and obstruct justice and cheat and break the law, right? So it makes sense that somebody would want to investigate that stuff. Absolutely.
And his family. Because we're going after his family. And we're going after them hard. This is all before entering office and all before knowing anything at all about me. But she's going to get me. This is why, along with unrelenting crime, so many people and companies are leaving New York. She said that I falsified my financial statements, but in fact we're proving and will prove that my financial statements were substantially more than we submitted, not less.
Great. That's all we need is proof, because up to this point, all we have received is evidence that you have committed crimes, financial crimes, tons of them. So, yeah, that'd be fantastic. Send proof, please.
And in all cases have a strong disclaimer clause in them which tells the institutions that may look at that if they want to, not to rely on the statement. But they've got a problem with their case because, number one, I'm very under-leveraged. They can't believe it. All the stuff they read and gave.
Under-leveraged is a financial term. I think it means you have less debt than you need to have. Like, you could have more debt if you wanted. I think that's what it is. Some accountant in the chat can correct me, but it's basically just, like, I think on average you want to have, like, a 30% debt-to-income ratio for just a personal household. No more than that. That'd be more than you should have, right? So if you make, like, $50,000 a year, then having, 30% of that amount in debt that you pay per year would be okay. That would be a normal amount. But if you're under leveraged, it means you only have like $2,000 in debt rather than, I don't know. I should have picked a round number like $100,000. Rather than 15,000, you only have 2,000. That's under leveraged, I think.
And have very little debt relative to the value of assets. And importantly, not one bank.
Right. That's what leverage means. Little debt relative to assets.
Have very little debt relative to the value of assets. And importantly, not one bank has lost even $1. She was investigating me to save banks.
Dude, what is he even talking about? I'm so lost.
Very good lawyers. But they didn't lose $1 with us during this period of time. In fact, the banks we're talking about made almost $200 million off Donald Trump, and they liked me very much. We never missed a payment, never got a default notice.
Like, a lot of this is blatantly bald-faced lie. Like, he's just not telling the truth here with a lot of the stuff he's saying. He famously falsified, like, a bunch of business transactions and stuff, and he got in all kinds of trouble with Deutsche Bank over a bunch of stuff. And they stopped working with him. A bunch of banks did after a certain point. I don't remember exactly what happened now, but yeah. Should be below 43, but I'd say closer to 39%. Okay. Interesting.
Had a great relationship with all of them. I don't need banks. We have a lot of cash. I built a great business with my family. Built a fantastic business.
Trump didn't build anything. He didn't build any businesses. He stole the business. Like, his dad left the business to the family, and Trump came in and gobbled it all up and cut a bunch of people out of it. Like, mistreated his family terribly. So, yeah, I don't want to hear any of this. I built it.
I have a son here who's done a great job, and I have another son here who's done a great job.
Which son is he pointing at? Is he pointing at the one that said this is communist level shit, that his dad's being arrested for a crime? Is he pointing at the one who tweeted out a picture of the judge's daughter, the judge in his dad's case? Is that the son he's pointing out? Which one? You know what drives me nuts when Trump does this? He's talking, and then he, like, kind of pulls his lips back and shows his teeth, and he inhales rapidly. You ever notice that? He kind of does it right here.
And Ivanka and Barron will be great someday. He's tall, and he's smart. But I have a great family, and they've done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it.
I hope Barron isn't a scumbag, but I get the impression he already is, right? He's old enough that we should know by now, is he a scumbag or not? I'll leave kids out of it. But at this point, he's not. Isn't he like almost 18 or something? He's not even a kid pretty soon. And he's fair game if he decides to jump in the ring and start attacking others, in my opinion. Politically, he's fair game to criticize if he starts criticizing others.
Appreciate it very much. They've done well. So she's suing me over banks that weren't defrauded, when she should be focused on violent crime that's driving people out of the state. This is a persecution, not an investigation. She's put our family through hell. It's cost hundreds of millions of dollars to defend, but our heads are held very, very high. They want to settle the case, but I want no part of that.
Well, I'm sorry you asked to be a part of it when you broke some laws, so.
So here we are now. It's where we were today, in a city that was so great just 4 or 5 years ago.
Dude, what a name, Barron, right? Barron Trump. And he's 17, apparently. He'll be 18 next year. March 20th, apparently, is his birthday. Interesting. I wonder if he's going to throw his hat in the ring. I would recommend to Barron Trump, just stay out of it, man. Stay out of it. Just live your life. Just don't even pay any attention to what's happening over there. Do your thing. And just keep on keeping on. That's my recommendation. Good luck.
But now we're there. Spend time there today, as you possibly read, with a local failed district attorney charging a former president of the United States for the first time in history on a basis that every single pundit and legal analyst said, there is no case. There's no case.
It's completely made up. I don't know who he's talking about or who he thinks said that, but there is a case. Obviously, he was charged with 34 felonies.
They kept saying, there's no case.
Who is they? These are weasel words again. Hold on, let me see. How long is this? This has got, how much longer does he talk? Oh, he only talks for like another, what shit. So we're at 47 minutes. He talks for another 5 minutes. So yeah, we'll just keep listening for a few more minutes. Hold on, let me close some of these tabs. They're in the way. Sorry.
Virtually everyone. But it's far worse than that, because he knew there was no case.
Alvin Bragg, I assume? No, this is the same Alvin Bragg that Trump tweeted a picture of him standing next to his head with a baseball bat. That's the same one. We're talking about the same guy.
That's why last week he delayed for a month and then immediately took that back and threw this ridiculous indictment together. Came out today, everybody said, this is not really an indictment. There's nothing here.
Who said that?
My lawyers came to me and they said, there's nothing here. They're not even saying what you did.
What? You kidding, right? A grand jury did this. This wasn't Alvin Bragg that did this. He just brought the grand jury together to make a decision on this. The grand jury decided that you absolutely, most definitely committed 34 felonies, at least to the extent that it's worth everyone's time to send you through a criminal trial over it. They don't bring charges like that against people unless they're pretty confident that you're going to serve time for, or that you're going to be indicted, or not indicted, I'm sorry, that you're going to, God, what's the word I'm looking for? That you're going to be prosecuted and found guilty of this. Yeah.
The criminal is the district attorney because he illegally leaked massive amounts of grand jury information.
Okay. Trump keeps saying he leaked the grand jury indictments stuff or whatever. I don't think he did. I think that's completely made up. Donald Trump has a tendency to leak stuff. For what it's worth, you know that you guys remember a little while back? Hang on. Did was it Alito that leaked Roe v. Wade, or do we know for sure?
I don't think we know for sure.
Okay. He did leak something before, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. I can double check on that if you want.
It's fine. I'll look. Hang on. Let me find out. Alito leak Supreme Court decision. Hold on. Okay, yeah, here we go. I don't remember what brought me to this point, but I'm gonna make it anyways. Supreme Court Justice Alito, complete nutcase, this dude, right? Appointed, I think, in 2006 by Bush, wasn't he? When was Alito appointed? Yeah, 2006. Wow, that was like dead on. I'm really impressed that I remembered that out of nowhere. Anyway, Alito, it's been alleged that Alito. Okay, let me just start from the beginning. You remember a little while back, Roe v. Wade, the draft opinion was leaked before the actual vote took place, and there was this huge uproar over it. Like, oh my God, who leaked this draft opinion? It must have been a radical left-wing Democrat, right? You remember all that? Well, as it turns out, we found that Alito leaked the Dobbs decision, like a while back. Dobbs was, what was Dobbs again? That was that was women's Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. Right. Wait, Dobbs was the Roe v. Wade thing. Oh my God, is this okay, apparently according to the New York Times, they believe that Alito leaked. The real Supreme Court news isn't the alleged Alito leak. Okay, that's a different thing. Yeah, oh my God. So, holy shit. Check this out. Check this article out. Talk about leaks, right? Every time there's a major leak of something, it's always a right-winger that did it. Remember Donald Trump got the whole document case, and Trump kept saying somebody should leak the court document, the warrant to search his property. Somebody should release that. They should release that, blah, blah. The Department of Justice should release the search warrant on his house. And the Justice Department went through the process of, trying to get that released. But before they did, conveniently, Breitbart News released a copy of it. Now, there are only two people that have a copy of that search warrant: Donald Trump and the Department of Justice. And they were in the process of declassifying, or whatever it's called, releasing it publicly. Within a few days, it would have been released publicly by the Justice Department. Donald Trump leaked the search warrant on Mar-a-Lago over the documents case. Donald Trump has leaked stuff before, like a billion times. In fact, Donald Trump called into a news station one time, pretended to be a guy named John Miller, Donald Trump's press secretary or some other garbage, never even existed. It was a fake guy, and he's using a fake voice to pretend he was John Miller and, like, leak information about himself. Donald Trump leaks stuff all the time. When it's convenient for him, he leaks it. Alito, according to the New York Times, Alito leaked the Roe v. Wade decision. You remember a while back, there was this uproar over, oh my God, somebody leaked the draft opinion on the abortion stuff, and it was definitely a radical left-wing Democrat. It turns out, according to the New York Times, it was Alito himself that leaked it. Donald Trump seems to be absolutely obsessed with people leaking things when he is, in fact, the source of a ton of leaks. I would be surprised, honestly, if it wasn't Donald Trump that leaked this stuff.
For which he should be prosecuted.
Yeah, there's no reason to think Alvin Bragg leaked anything, the indictment or whatever else. Donald Trump has a history of leaking things like this.
At a minimum, he should resign. And Alvin Bragg's wife confirmed a report that claimed her husband has Trump nailed on felonies. She has since...
Dude, why does he always go after people's families? Why does he do that? And it's not just him. It's, I think Donald Trump Jr. did this too. Don Jr. tweeted a picture of the judge's daughter in this case. Like, why? Why do they do these things? This is mob boss type of stuff. Seriously. It's so wrong.
Locked down her Twitter account. His chief prosecutor, who represented the Democrats and crooked Hillary Clinton in a firm run by Chuck Schumer's brother, Robert, he quit the firm.
Again, brother Robert, like, why is he talking about these people's family members? You know, I just went through this whole thing about how it's wrong to involve families or kids or whatever. And that's why I'm not going to, like, criticize Barron Trump until he comes out and says something worthy of criticism. Trump doesn't care. He'll go after anybody for any reason. Families, children, wives, whatever. Like that time that he said that Ted Cruz's wife was ugly. You guys remember that? Something like that? He has no moral bounds. How can the group of people who fancy themselves moral, the moral majority, how can they possibly justify supporting somebody like this? Really? Perturbed Son, once again. I say this every time you comment, but I love the profile picture, love the name. Owen, did you see the gameplay trailer for Tears of the Kingdom yet? So hyped to build weapons in Zelda. It's going to be amazing. I didn't see it. I'm so excited. Yeah, I pre-ordered. Of course, I'm a collector. I love collecting games, so I had to get a physical copy. I couldn't just have, like, the digital download. It's supposed to arrive, the day that it releases, and oh my God, I just cannot wait for it. So, yeah, super excited.
In order to go to work in the DA office in order to get Trump. Can you imagine that? Hillary Clinton's lawyer, Democrat lawyer.
Dude, I don't know what he's even talking about here.
Democrat firm. Ultimately, he quit as chief prosecutor because Bragg didn't think he had a case. Think of that same guy that brought this ridiculous thing today. Yet during his investigation, this prosecutor named Mark Pomerantz wrote in...
So once again, he's doxing people. I mean, technically not doxing. His name is technically public information, but putting people's names out there like this leads to stochastic terrorism against them.
Published a book.
And Trump knows that. He knows that that's going to be the result of saying people's names.
This prosecutor named Mark Pomerantz wrote and published a book saying all sorts of privileged things. And has been very strongly reprimanded. He was reprimanded so...
What was that, Trump? Say it again.
Has been very strongly reprimanded. He was reprimanded so strongly I've never seen anything like it. That's probably the end of it.
You know, I don't even care that Trump, like, has these weird glitches. Honestly, I don't think that he has, like, dementia or early signs of it or anything. I really don't. It would have been obvious by now that he had dementia if he really did. I just think that he's obsessed with imagery, with strongman imagery, and making these little mess-ups like this eats him up inside. I don't care. I do it all the time. It's Trump that seems to be obsessed with not letting anybody believe that he ever made a mistake.
But what he did was probably very illegal. But he was very, very strongly reprimanded. Even District Attorney Bragg was furious with him. They were having a tremendous fight in the office because of it. But hope is never lost because various prosecutors in the DA's office also quit because they thought President Trump was being treated very unfairly. How about that? Isn't that great? Oh, I love them. I'd like them to be.
Okay, so what he's talking about here, this is deep lore, dude. He expects everybody listening to understand all this and be aware of the situation completely. There were some prosecutors that quit, and he's talking about them right now. He's saying that these prosecutors quit out of solidarity with Donald Trump. That's not true. They quit because they realized that the case that they had been building against Donald Trump wasn't going forward. They weren't going to prosecute him after all, even though they knew that they very obviously should. And they quit because they were annoyed that they weren't going to move forward with it when they should be moving forward with it. But Trump uses this as like a point in his favor. Look, they quit because they like me. No, they hate you. They think that you should have faced justice, actually.
I'd like to meet them. The DA's office even had a webpage. Meet the team of executives who have done this to President Trump. That was the title. Isn't that nice?
Is that true? I seriously, deeply doubt it.
They immediately had to take it down. Meanwhile, overall, crime in New York was up 30% last year.
I don't know that that's true. Again, New York City is the safest place I've ever lived in my life. I do not live in fear going outside at all. I don't worry about having my wallet taken. I don't worry about being mugged. None of that. I feel perfectly safe in this city, 100%. It's just completely made up.
Much more than that the year before, with felony assaults, robberies, and burglaries all up by massive, massive numbers. Not the same place that I know. Not the same place.
No, when Trump was in New York City in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was a hellhole. New York City was a deeply dangerous place to be back then. Deeply scary place. Times Square was the type of place you wouldn't want to go because it was where people got stuck up and mugged and taken advantage of and scammed constantly. That's not what it is anymore at all. Like, not even close. It's a perfectly safe city now. It's a beautiful city.
And this is where we are right now. I have a Trump-hating judge with a Trump-hating wife and family whose daughter worked for Kamala Harris and now receives money from the Biden-Harris campaign, and a lot of that. We recently had another trial, and the same judge told the fine man who worked for me for many, many years that if you admit your guilt, you will be in jail for 90 days.
I think he's talking about Weisselberg, and it was basically the guy that heads Trump's nonprofit, the Trump Organization or whatever. And yeah, the guy most definitely broke a ton of laws and deserved to spend way more time in jail than that. But I guess he only got 90 days, and he didn't have to testify against Donald Trump. It was part of the deal, I think. I don't even remember now.
But if you don't, if we go through a trial and you're found guilty, you're going away for 10 years and maybe longer.
Yeah, that's how plea bargains work.
Which for a 75-year-old man with a great family really means life.
Yeah, that's true.
What the prosecutors and judge did to that man, I will never forget. Because it's right out of the old Soviet Union. That's where we are.
No, it was just a criminal proceeding.
They said, you say anything about Trump, meaning that's bad, and you won't even have to serve the 90 days. You'll walk free.
Well, it was if he agrees to testify against the other people that were involved in the wrongdoing, then he would have his time reduced. Again, the whole criminal justice system works off of snitching.
And they say that to many of my employees. We have this Jack Smith lunatic threatening people every single day.
Yeah, I'm not feeling threatened by Jack Smith. Who's feeling threatened by Jack Smith? Trump is feeling threatened by him. You know why? Because Trump did something wrong. If he didn't, he wouldn't have to live in fear of, being prosecuted by him. The saddest part about this is that Trump is like 80, isn't he? He's probably if he was 50, I would just about guarantee he'd see jail time over everything that he's done. But he's so old now that it's just kind of waiting out the clock. The wheels of justice turn very slowly. And there's no chance that Trump is ever going to see a day of jail. He's just going to keep delaying and pushing things back and appealing and fighting until he kicks it. And that's how he's going to avoid, any consequences for his actions, unfortunately.
Representatives, they're threatening jail terms. But talk about Trump and you'll go free. This is where we are.
No, talk about people who were involved in the wrongdoing other than you, and you'll go free. Yeah, that's how the justice system works.
Nation. Who would have thought they can't beat us at the ballot box, so they try and beat us through the law. That's the country in which we live, however, right now. The USA is a mess.
Again, Kari Lake doesn't worry about going to jail. And she's saying all the same stuff. Ron DeSantis doesn't worry about going to jail. They don't worry about being prosecuted by anybody. You know who worries about this? People who've done something wrong. That's about it. I mean, the poor are historically terribly mistreated in the United States, but the rich almost never face consequences for their actions.
Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. Russia has joined with China. Can you believe that? Saudi
yeah, that's pretty believable.
Arabia has joined with Iran. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition. Would have never happened.
Really? Russia and China never would have joined together if you were president, is what you're telling me. This dude is a joke.
If I were your president, would never have happened. Nor would Russia attacking Ukraine have happened. All of those lies.
It did happen. Are you serious? It did happen. And as a matter of fact, I mean, it happened before. It happened in 2014. Now, that was before Trump. But Putin's been doing this for ever. This has been a long time ambition of his to take Ukraine back. This didn't just pop into his head when you left the presidency. He's been planning this for a decade, at least longer, probably. The plan originally was for Putin to was for you to be reelected. It was for Trump to be reelected. And then he was going to weaken NATO even further and then go into Ukraine. It would have been just a disaster if Trump had been president when Putin went into Ukraine. They would have gotten absolutely no help from the U.S. But Trump lost, so they said, okay, we're going in anyways. And that's how it played out.
Lives would be saved.
He lives in a fantasy if he thinks that things would have played out better for Ukraine if he had been president when this happened. He knows that's not true.
Nor would Russia attacking Ukraine have happened. All of those lives would be saved. All of those beautiful cities would be standing. Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years.
Dude, our currency is not crashing. Our currency is okay right now. It's still the reserve currency worldwide. What's he talking about? And that's because he was arrested, right? Because he's arrested, our currency is crashing. Is that what he's trying to say?
There will be no defeat like that. That will take us away from being even a great power. If you took the 5 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration.
Dude, he just repeats the same stuff over and over again. This drives me nuts. It's every single time that he talks. Every single time he gets in front of a camera, he says the exact same talking points over and over again. If you take the worst 5 presidents in the history of ever, they didn't do as much damage as Biden, blah, blah, blah. I'm better than Lincoln and Washington combined. And he has the same, like, memes. Like, he'll say, a big, strong guy came to me with tears in his eyes, and he said, blah, blah, blah. Every story he tells starts with that. Big, strong guy, tears in his eyes, every time.
Incredibly, we are now a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. We can't let that happen.
What is he talking about? We can't let that happen. Saying that is a disturbing step for him. Like, this is a call to action, really, is what's happening right now. And it's so deeply disturbing when he does this.
With all of this being said, and with a very dark cloud over our beloved country, I have no doubt, nevertheless, that we will make
what?
Make America great again. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much, everybody.
Wow, the end. That was just like a non-stop fever dream of nonsensical garbage. It's the same garbage talking points that he gives every time he gives like a speech anywhere. It's the same stuff over and over and over again. I'm the best. Joe Biden is the worst. Hunter Biden is evil. You're charging me instead of him. I'm the victim here. This is a communist country. Wokeism is evil. Transgender people are evil. It's just the same stuff over and over. It's nuts. Absolutely unhinged stuff, dude. It's crazy. Anyway, just let me know what you think about. Let me know what you think about his speech in the comments. I just think it's confusing garbage. Have Stormy Daniels ordered to pay $122,000 to Trump for her failed defamation case in 2018? Okay, I'm unfamiliar with any of that, but it sounds like a talking point. I'm confused. Sorry. Need a little bit more information on that. Anyways, okay, I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. It's a lot later than usual. Quick reminder, I'm going to be going to American Atheist Convention on Thursday. I will be there late Thursday, so it'll be Friday and Saturday, and then I'm leaving on Sunday. So hopefully I see some of you guys there. Otherwise, I'm doing a stream tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m., my unfiltered YouTube channel. Check that out. And I'll continue watching some of this stuff. And, yeah, I think that's it. So no podcast this week on Sunday, no stream on Thursday. But I will have a Wednesday stream, so anyway. Yeah, thank you for coming, guys. I appreciate it. I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning, hopefully, okay? Otherwise, I'll see you next week. All right, have a good one, everybody. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And take a look at my YouTube channels. Owen Morgan, where I talk about religious issues. Telltale Fireside Chat, where I talk about politics. Telltale Unfiltered, where I do long-form breakdowns of stuff like this, and Telltale Reads, where I read books by televangelists and others. I release everything in parts, but every part stands independently of the last. so you can jump in anywhere and I'll make sure it makes sense. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of all my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email list to get early access to everything. All links are in the description. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.